The SeeWeed app is a not-for-profit project developed specifically for bushcare groups around Australia. Weed identification plays a critical role in bushcare. If not managed correctly, weeds can destroy the biodiversity of the natural environment and the habitat of native animals. Being able to accurately identify weeds helps to ensure their efficient eradication, whilst also minimising the risk to native plants that may be mistaken for a weed. The anticipated outcome of the project is to develop a novel and accurate tool for weed identification that will attract more volunteers to bushcare groups. Many of the people who work in bushcare groups are volunteers who have little or no training in weed identification. These are the targeted users for the app. Unlike other apps that are limited to common weed types, the SeeWeed app has been designed to allow authorised users to add less common weeds to the database. The following use case diagram illustrates how this is done. An administrator firstly logs into their account and then updates the database by adding the name of the weed, an image of the weed, and a short description of how it can be managed. There is also the option for retraining the image classification model by adding multiple images of the weed's leaves. To identify a weed, a typical user would firstly log into their account and then search the app's database. This can be done by either browsing the database, using the text query function, or the image classification function. Image classification will be the most novel and convenient way for users to identify weeds. After the user has taken a photograph of a leaf from the weed, it will be sent to the server where it will be classified using machine learning. The image will be sent back to the user and displayed in the user interface alongside the name of the weed, an image from the database, and a brief description of how it can be managed. Image classification is made possible through a Python machine learning model. To make sure the model works, I had to test it with a small dataset. As a proof of concept, I focused on 3 plant species. These were miniature morea, privet, and lily-pilly. Lily-pilly is a native plant, but it was chosen because the leaves are very similar to privet. To provide a consistent scale between images, I positioned each leaf inside the center square of the compositional grid on my phone's camera. Users would be instructed to follow the same method. The data was then divided into a test set and a training set. The Python implementation runs in Notebook and relies on the TensorFlow and Keras modules. After the model has been trained, we achieve an accuracy rate of around 95%. Then the images in the test set are used to test the model. As we can see, the model was able to identify each plant type accurately, even lily-pilly, which has a similar but more rounded leaf shape than privet. If the proposed app is developed, it will provide bushcare groups around Australia with an accurate and novel weed identification tool that can be configured to meet local requirements.